At the end of this degree course, I can definitely say that interpretation is a job as important as it is difficult. The world nowadays is extremely connected, and therefore nations establish relations with different purposes, for example, trade or politics. Interpreters have therefore a fundamental role in global culture, since they are the most efficient instrument to enable people from different nations and cultures to communicate almost instantaneously. Interpreters are defined as experts on one or more languages besides their mother tongue, and their work is based on a combination of these languages. The most common techniques of interpretation are simultaneous, which is a real-time translation of the speech; consecutive, where interpreters listen to part of or the entire speech and take down notes of what they are listening to in a special notebook; and liaison, where interpreters work with small groups of people. It may seem obvious, but it is important to underline that not everyone can be an interpreter. In fact, it is not enough to speak one or more foreign languages well to be able to mediate. Listening, comprehension, and empathy are the main abilities a good interpreter has to have. Listening enables the interpreter to grasp the meaning of the speech in order to elaborate it and then translate it into a different language. Being empathetic enables the interpreter to establish a stronger relationship with the speakers and to perceive and control every attitude, emotion, or behavior they have in order to fulfill perfectly a task and to manage unexpected situations. Interpretation has been acknowledged as a profession since 1919, when the Paris Peace Conference was held. But nevertheless, the need for mediators between different cultures dates back to the pre-Christian period. Interpreters have also had a crucial role in history for commercial, religious, and military purposes. Interpreters are not just external voices without importance. They are like actors, and so they have to represent the speakers and be a filter through which the message of the speech is translated as clearly as possible. While they are working, interpreters have to be absolutely neutral, and under no circumstances can they express personal opinions regarding the topic of the speech through their voice or posture. Interpretation is a very complex form of communication, so it is fundamental for interpreters to have perfect knowledge of the characteristics of communication. Regardless of the different techniques of interpretation, the voice is the main element interpreters work with, so it is essential to control and use it in the best way possible, in order not to strain it and to be perfectly comprehensible. Interpreters have obviously to have an excellent command of verbal language in order to adapt the linguistic register to the different contexts and topics, and consequently to communicate efficaciously with the different addressees. Moreover, interpreters have to have a correct posture and behave professionally, and their clothes and general appearance have to be professional as well. So, it is necessary to have perfect command of the different aspects of verbal, paraverbal, and nonverbal communication. When two interlocutors interact, they do not exchange only information or news. Each behavior they have during an interaction has an emotional aspect, which can affect the result of communication in different ways. Emotionality is common to every human being, and it can affect rationality and thinking ability. Emotions have a fundamental role both in personal and professional life. In fact, in the case of social relations, an emotional exchange makes it possible to create a stronger and deeper relationship with someone. If we take into consideration the profession of interpreters, we can notice how emotions affect numerous aspects of this job. For example, in a conference, a speaker will not only express words. He or she will express more or less evidently an emotional charge which can affect the result and the intensity of the message. In this case, interpreters have to manage to perceive empathetically the emotions of the speakers in order to communicate them correctly and somehow control them, so that they can avoid situations potentially dangerous for the interpretation. For example, if a strong emotional charge causes the speaker to talk too rapidly, the interpreter can suggest that he or she speak more slowly in order to ensure a better interpretation. Obviously, interpreters do not have to take into consideration only the emotions of the speakers, but they also have to learn to control their own. Learning how to manage emotions leads to a balanced and healthy life. A strong emotional charge, if not controlled, can seriously compromise a person's job or their entire career, as well as jeopardizing the stability of their social relationships. If emotionality is so extreme that both personal and professional life of interpreters is compromised, they should seek professional help. There are numerous techniques that establish a unique approach with the individual and his or her emotions. Music therapy, for example, uses sound as an instrument to achieve mental and physical wellness. Autogenic training is a relaxation technique made up of a series of exercises aimed at self-inducing a modification of a specific mental or physical state. Another efficient technique is bioenergetic analysis. This technique, as well as autogenic training, is based on the psychosomatic principle of the identity between the body and the mind, so that what happens to the body is impressed in the mind and vice versa. Bioenergetics is based on a series of breathing, postural, expressive and vocal exercises aimed at making the patient aware of his or her mental or physical tensions, so that the natural flow of vital energy inside the body can be restored. Each of these techniques has an individual effect on the person in question, but nevertheless, they can be an efficient support to live our life to the full and succeed in our job and our personal relationships.